This video is for ages 13 and up, because something's something.
Oi, マジか。そうだな。
Hi all, it's me, Five Spiders, on my review on Transformers 1. I would have to say, first off the bat, it's a really good movie for the kids, as people who made this really understands what the movie's demographic is, while also giving meat to long-time fans and celebrating the 40-year anniversary of the franchise. This is my opinion and my opinion only, so my review may be lighthearted and also harsh at the same time, because like I said, I don't have a childhood with Transformers. I watch things that interest me, like Ultraman Rising that came out this year. If I feel harsh on this review, please don't be mad at me. Everyone just behave down below. I love this movie, as well as I will buy the Blu-ray and the art book later. As also, Hasbro already has my claws in my wallet, so basically they already won me financially. Lastly, it will just disregard the people who worked on this movie. People who spent the time understanding that this demographics for kids and longtime fans and new fans. However, I acknowledge that this movie is not for me, and I do have a choice on what I watch, and I am aware of this. This is my perspective and my alone. Also, spoilers, as this video is not for kids. So let's go from the bad stuff right up to the good stuff, as I like to end things off good terms. I say the writing isn't as great as most people say it is. It is a safe movie, and it builds up for the next line of films, as it seems that will make it a trilogy, or better yet, a saga to reboot the franchise for a younger audience to grow up with these movies. Once, like, maybe the 5th movie or something like that comes out, and then they will reboot it. Although this movie is supposed to be a lore setup by making the pace of the movie way too fast from scene to scene fairly quick, especially in the second act of the movie, as I would like the scenes a bit longer to show the relationship with Orion Pax and D16, or rewritten up that their friendship started when D16 was a minor, but his new job as a gladiator, where D16 has a fan club, and it would be a nice build-up, the reason why the Seekers and other robots will follow him. However, I do love my two bros chillin', and the writers said themselves that it was a missed opportunity to write that Megatron has been established gladiator, and was on them. So at least they own up to that part of Megatron's origin story mistake. However, I do forgive them, as this movie is really great to watch. The scene where it badly paced the most is where they made up Starscream. I have no idea where the payoff besides giving the reason why Starscream vocals are messed up in the original cartoon. Other than that, this scene is strange or something, as D16 says, as he wouldn't be a leader, but desires to become one after being lied to for his entire life. I would be pissed off that your identity in life have been stripped away from your birth. Of course, writing isn't perfect, and there are always going to be mistakes. And people are there to pick it apart at it. It is how you present your work is what matters to an audience. And the final scene of D16, last bit of humanity for Orion Pax, dropping his best buddy was the best part of the movie. If D16 never dropped Orion, the two of them, of their friendship they had built, meant something. However, it wasn't enough for D16, and he had to let go that part. Orion was that piece of himself that he held back his rage. With him gone, D16's mind is also gone, and reborn as Megatron, a mixture of Megatronus, his demigod idol, and his most powerful primes, and possibly with B's nickname Badassatron. It's a funny laugh, but I think why B probably is going to drop that name in the sequel is because B wants to be remembered or revered by that name. It's the same thing as Megatron, a name a lot of Autobots and other life forms will fear Megatron's name for the next millions of years. However, this Starscream and the Seekers scene is a little over the place, but I still love it regardless. Just seeing Soundwave and Shockwave is nice to see their little banter they had in the movie. Other than that, scenes where Bumblebee becomes a funny comic relief character, it gets really old very fast, and I just want him to be quiet, but understand his position of how long he was isolated. I wish we got more on B's isolation and sadness he carries is heartbreaking to see him like this. Yet they play him as this guy who never seen or had an outside interaction at all, or not even had a friend. He will do anything for Optimus Prime and doing what he believes is right. By the time he meets up with Lita 1, he's becoming really annoying around her, and I can see a lot of chemistry between the two. It's more like a mother-son relationship or sibling relationship, mostly mother and son. And it's a very sweet moments when she and Orion start to warm up to his presence. He is our stand-in character for the kids. Also, the minor villains, the Quintessons, are a very awesome touch to the movie, but their lore and role in the movie is pretty minor. If they came back in the sequel, I would be like, this is really bad writing if they did. As I can tell, with all the T-Cogs returned to Energon flowing through Cybertron and a lot of robots ready to fight, I do not think the Quintessons have a chance on fighting the Autobots. But I'm not a writer, as I would just see them got defeated like in a side comic or a novel, how the Quintessons got defeated and not in the movie theater. That would be too much for the sequel. Lastly, I just feel like there's not enough time with the characters in this situation who are like on the lower class to flesh out. Like Jazz has a nice touch, but I would like other characters like cameos like Prowl, Wheeljack, RC, Cliffjumper, Ratchet, etc. having at least a speaking role or see their perspectives on the situation and what they believed in. If you need emotional weight to a scene, you need witnesses to show what kind of perspective. We never get to see that besides the end of the story, and it's kind of strange not to hear it from a guy like Prowl or even Sideswipe, who are characters that have their own perspective and place in the world. Especially Ratchet. He's supposed to be the Bones character from Star Trek. Ratchet has his own perspective, and he and Prowler have a deep-rooted personalities. However, I guess we have to settle in for Jazz. Jazz is not really my first pick on speaking roles, but it makes a bit of sense because they basically are the same age as Orion for that foil, because of his other characters I've mentioned earlier are old, and it's fine not having an old mentor character for a protagonist like Obi-Wan, besides Alpha Trion, but when he died to Sentinel Prime in the most brutal way possible, and he was there to dump the lies Sentinel placed on. Hopefully we get our old mentor characters back, like Ratchet and Wheeljack. God, I miss those two. Other than that, the lore-heavy pacing second act is here when they transition to the good stuff of the movie, besides the part where Megatron and Optimus' duel with the Heart of the Cards and Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, baby! It didn't happen, didn't it? Well, we can even see this from the beginning of the movie. He was once a robot who prefers to live in bliss and follow protocol. When it's revealed the truth of Sentinel Prime by Alpha Trion and what he has done to the other primes and his heroes like Megatronus, this sent him a path he cannot come out from. A path that wanted everyone to give freedom and giving everyone a choice to choose what they are and what they are born for. Throughout his story is cut and dry. It was enough for D16 slowly become Megatron, as he has always been there in his heart. The colors of his eyes changing from a yellow-orange to a full red, showing his rage and sadness. That all he knew was stripped away from him. That he deserved better than being used up as scrap to mine for energon for the enemy. But we're not going to mention the deeper, messed up lore of Megatron for the IDW comics because, my god, the comics are really dark and how Megatron was messed up in the brain and it wasn't his fault. So we're not going into that rabbit hole. IDW Megs gets its own video. That is where the situation for D16 wants to tear apart the robot who essentially ruined his life. He does that like Jazz style, and he does a public execution in front of everyone when the truth just got revealed. There's a brief moment when he got angry at Ryan for bringing him on this journey. It would be better for him to never helped in the first place, and he prefers to live blissfully in the lie Sentinel Prime set up to save his own skin like a coward. Sentinel Prime, when he was introduced, is a foil to Orion Pax, as this arrogant yet kind of reminds me of another robot that I know from robots. Sentinel Prime is only cared to have power and prefers to live in luxury while others suffer for his greed. You can see how pathetic when he gives the energon to Quintessence, that he prefers to serve the enemy rather than fighting back. Then seeing how he has killed his family, or essentially gods or demigods, is so heartbreaking to watch. Of a grave once was robots that were so powerful, if they all worked together, they could end the wars. The four of them walking into this cave in this scene, it shows how much loss and reveal that even Orion and the people he once see them as gods are now dead. Sentinel Prime is a big example of a god who went mad over lust of power and prefers to have it all to himself. He never likes to share the power with anyone, and that path of Orion was originally going for until he see the truth got slapped in their faces. Can tell that the truth Orion seeks wasn't the truth he wanted to hear, especially when the ones that you look up to as gods. After the scene, Sentinel is a traitor to his people. Orion looks disappointed and wants to forget what just happened. Of course, that's an option to live blissfully is right thing to do, but once curiosity gets the better of him, nothing would change and nothing would ever continue. Then, when he meets up with D-16, now on the bridge of killing Sentinel Prime, in front of a crowd, became a blood orange, for a moment changed back to yellow. For a brief second, he used his ion cannon on Orion and destroyed half his body. You can see the panic of D-16 as he returned back with his yellow eyes. Orion begging D-16 to pull him back and not kill Sentinel Prime, as this is the wrong way to do. However, if he does this, D-16 will have humanity, or what their version of humanity is. A sense of weakness that he will never have the chance to take on his revenge what Sentinel has done. For the last moment of D-16 attempt to stay in his mind, the person Orion sees him as a friend. He looks away from Orion and looks back with glowing red eyes, as there is no turning back. He lets go in the most heartbreaking line of the movie, "I am done saving you," leading up to the payoff, because he was the one who always covered Orion from getting in trouble. Now Orion must go into darkness alone. D-16 has given into his madness and now reborn as Megatron, and took the T-Cog that was rightly his idol, Megatron's cog, when he has branded everyone who is on his side with Megatron's symbol as Decepticons. Also, a side note here, I noticed that the Megatron's T-Cog was purple. It could be that Megatron's T-Cog is corrupted by Dark Energon. Wherever it was before or after Sentinel Prime took it, but we know in lore that anything that's purple is probably a setup for the sequel movie, how Megatron's T-Cog is corrupting Megatron's mind. As we don't know if it was Sentinel Prime who corrupted with his own mouse, or it was before Megatron's death. It is great, an arc for D-16's descent of madness, but I would like to see the scarring of Sentinel Prime's cruel branding still on his chest, but he overlaid it with the new branding of the Decepticons. Optimus knows D-16 is still there, but he's always in pain. The cruelty of Sentinel Prime's reign still hurts Megatron when he meets Optimus again in the sequels, or maybe the Saga movies. I just hope for the moment that Optimus says to Megatron while touching the cruelly drawn brand from Sentinel Prime is a reminder of the relationship they once had. The acknowledgement the two of them will never become friends again. However, I do want to see Rodimus Prime giving the old man Megatron a chance at a redemption like in Lost Light comics. That is way too long in the continuity. If I ever bring back my sweet boy back into the big screen again, normally, if the crew haven't met Starscream, Megatron won't be born. As this small scene, his fight was the catalyst for Megatron to become the leader of the Decepticons. As he said himself, he'll never become a leader like Sentinel, only later in post-credit scene to eat his words up. So yeah, Starscream kind of deserved getting his voice messed up forever by Megatron. Lastly, we got Orion Pax, rising up to become Optimus Prime. They really did a great job as the balance of his character against D16. I did like his interjection as the miner who wants to know the truth, what happened to the Matrix, in hopes of finding it so they don't have to mine anymore. As the lore stated, without the Matrix, there won't be energon flowing through the planet. He has this childlike personality and is well blowing an archive chip like an NES game cartridge in his first scene in the movie, and doing a Aladdin escape and D16 getting him out of trouble, showing the audience that he is bored of his life and prefers to break the status quo and be somewhat a rebel. He believes there is more out there, even though the miners can't transform, but he wants to show the world his dreams and praise those who inspired him. He is the street rat after all, and his setup of his character are the ones who seek an adventure. When he finds out the lies Sentinel has played up and has been a coward, like I said earlier, he has to face the fact of disappointment that the journey that they went on with his friends, that there was no missing Matrix, or there was no reason to mine Energon. It was a lie from his idol he was born into. Sort of the moment he realized that the journey, it would have been better if they weren't born at all. Even though one went on the Neon Genesis madness route, while the other one feels lost in this revelation. What would you do if your god you idolize the entire life went mad with power and killed everything? Orion had every right to feel betrayed by Sentinel Prime and thought back if this is the path he should go on. What if he becomes something like Sentinel Prime, as the movie foils him up to be? Even though he is a rebel, he does the opposite as he keeps the status quo, or better yet, control, unlike the Decepticons. It is his freedom, but also chaos. The irony in this is that Optimus wants to change, but stays in the status quo, while Megatron was in the status quo, but chose to be a rebel. And then we got Elita 1, who, as always, being in her character since her debut. She will do whatever it takes to get to that goal. Since Orion has delved too deep already, he must seek the truth right up to the end, and no matter what happens. Even though humans, or humanity, is the key part of Transformers, but Transformers 1 does a great job not needing humans at all. When you actually get people to write good stories, the humanity that we see in Orion Pax and the other characters interact with them is there. They gave these characters their version of humanity. The characters fighting each other, they believe what is right, and which group of robots will follow them. And the comics has done this for like 20 years at this point. The Autobots and Decepticons have their own version of humanity already, an established society. The main takeaway of any humanity is like the creator of Nier games, Yoko Taro, that humanity is a horrific thing, so long someone believes in something that's right. However, there's always a glimmers of hope of the madness. That is why humanity is terrifying, but also the feeling of hopefulness that things will come true. Everyone wants to know, will they be okay in the future? It gives people a sense of peace and when they leave this world behind. Optimus and Megatron used to believe in something that was right, but when that lie was peeled away, it is hard to believe the truth. To have control is life and balance, or to have destruction is chaos. Optimus and Megatron personalities matches to a poet. They aren't kings like Starscream or soldiers like Elita and Bumblebee. They were once good robots thrown in a situation where they are at odds against each other. The canon already states, now past their primes, when the humans remind them on Earth of their humanity after years of war they've forgotten they once stood for. Though it's not like Transformers Prime writing where they did the whole many thing aspect, in my opinion, the movie made it clear enough to the audience, and I think this movie will inspire more people in the future. There are other movies that I can watch right now, and I have a choice that no one's going to stop me on that. I can literally watch anything else at the moment, like Ultraman Rising, as I got better things to do, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the movie, and I hope the sequel would be a full destruction of Cybertron, and the Autobots have to leave Cybertron to Earth. I can criticize all I want, but we can't get what we want sometimes, and I think the movie is great, nor I would change my score on this movie, as it is a high 7.5 to like an 8. And That's what I'm going to give it. Numbers do not matter and tier lists don't matter. It's your entertainment. How many times you want to watch a movie? Probably I'm going to rewatch this movie anyways, especially when the Japanese dub comes out on the Blu-ray disc. I swear to God. Also, sound design is really perfect, and so the cues were on point. Thank you, Lucasfilms, for the sound mixing. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. I just had to thank you for behaving as I am trying to do other projects here. And oh boy, this is going way too long, as I should finish my review on my analysis on Transformers Energon/Superlink Grand Convoy. I just post whatever I want on here with no schedule. So I don't know. Goodbye. Bye-bye.